afford. Free estimates, flawless replacements, and peace of mind from a family-owned business you can trust. Don't wait. Call Heartland of Nebraska Windows at 402-430-3852 or visit heartlandofnebraskawindows.com today.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Why are some people more successful? Is it talent and determination, or did they recognize an opportunity? Discover a career that lets you help families reach their financial goals as you build lasting professional relationships, one with unlimited income potential. From Modern Woodman, a leading fraternal financial services provider.
I'm Modern Woodman Regional Director Sean Erickson. Call me at 402-483-6515 to learn about career opportunities.
Modern Woodman of America. Touching lives, securing futures.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contests, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bockoven.
Yes, it is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bockoven in studio with you. As usual, you know us here at 93.7 The Ticket. We keep the lights on here for downtown Lincoln, Nebraska. So going a little bit late tonight, just because of a little bit of a programming change, because it was International Women's Day here at in general, and so we wanted to celebrate. We certainly did. Had an excellent day of programming throughout the day, led by women, and how great has that been? Now, of course, it is a man's voice here, but we can still celebrate as we continue. Of course, wrestling fans know the women's revolution that has happened in wrestling about over the last 10 or 15 years, and of course has accumulated in great stars, great moments in the ring, in the squared circle, of course, all the way back to WrestleMania a few years ago now, where Becky Lynch was in there with Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey main eventing WrestleMania. So very cool stuff there. And it's been awesome just to see the progression of women in wrestling specifically. It's funny because there was a time where, when the women's revolution kind of began, it's like, well, how much screen time can women get? How much, can they have their own show? That sort of thing. And as the time has kind of gone on, it becomes more and more less focusing on one side or the other, men's or women's. Of course, there's different belts, you're competing differently. So there still is that division, but I don't even pay attention or think about it really anymore, which again is an intended goal when you're trying to bring up a community. So it has been a good day here at the Ticket. We'll continue it here on Nuclear Heat. It was a good week of wrestling too, I thought. And if you're joining me on the streamline, you can see I'm dealing with a little bit of a technical difficulty. Unfortunately, I have a face for radio anyway, so you're not missing much. We got a banner flashing up there, but I might try to fix that during the break so you can see me talking. But it is by myself tonight. I'm Jake Bockoven, usually tag team partner Augie Pena in the building, Nuclear Heat contributor as well, but he had to take the night off, so it's just going to be me talking some wrestling here with you folks. So go ahead and text in if you have thoughts on what I'm thinking, what I'm saying about this past week in the WWE. Of course, it is the road to WrestleMania as we all focus in on that just around the corner, April 18th and 19th. But again, 402-464-5685 is how you can chime in. I would love to hear you, and you can be a Nuclear Heat contributor this evening and my tag team partner if you text in enough. So that would be appreciated. Either way, we'll make it through. We'll have some fun in the next hour looking back at this week. And of course, we don't have to pretend like you don't know what's going on. Hopefully at this point, maybe you do, maybe you don't if you're watching the programming. But it was a good week. I mean, I think it was a very excitable week. We knew since last weekend at the end of the last Premium Live event that we were going to have Cody versus Drew McIntyre for the World Championship on SmackDown. Very interesting. Obviously, as we know, Randy Orton came out of Elimination Chamber the victor. And so the question all week leading into SmackDown was, are they going to make that change? And how are fans going to react if they do? Obviously, with Randy Orton winning, I've been saying it for as long as Cody's had this run the last couple of years, is they're kind of leaving money on the table by not having a Cody-Randy Orton feud. Now, it wasn't that they were leaving money on the table and they'd never get there. It was more, at some point they can cash in on this, and that appears to be what's happening here. We'll go through more of the match itself later, but Cody did win that match. Therefore, after 2 months without the title, QB number one has the title again, and he looks to be the opponent of Randy Orton heading into WrestleMania. So again, that feud from their past working together. I mean, they were in a faction years and years ago together, and so that's why there was always an idea that it would be good. The other idea is obviously if you turn one of these heel, and that's where it's going to be kind of interesting to see what they do with this, because the other, of course, match that is likely going to headline WrestleMania will be CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And what they did with that feud had me more feeling like they're going more toward, okay, instead of face versus heel, let's have this be CM Punk versus versus Roman Reigns. At this long, if you've watched wrestling for long enough, or you're a fan of one or the other, I don't know if it's a face or a heel type of thing. You're gonna choose who you like more. Do you like CM Punk? Do you like Roman Reigns? And so they've kind of settled them in the middle, both of them. Of course, specifically, and again, we could talk a little bit more about it when we get to the specifics on the promo, but CM Punk bringing up Roman Reigns' deceased father, and CM Punk had been the face of this, right? Roman Reigns had been the heel, so to speak, right? I mean, he's kind of in between one way or the other. And again, there's those characters over the years, the Stone Cold Steve Austins, that kind of set it off of kind of, being more of just their character than being either face or heel. But a lot of it, makes it a little easier for the crowd to get behind. You can see, if they're at least working from the good side, right? And I guess the whole point is CM Punk left WWE Raw with one of the more heelish lines that you can say. And again, we'll get into it. Probably more so than anything, just trying to get in the mind of Roman Reigns, like his character is. But I wonder if they're going to do the same thing when they get to Cody and Randy Orton, because part of what I think is going to be exciting about this for me is how long are you going to milk the heel turn if you're going to have one, and if you don't have one, can you get away again with these kind of characters where you're going to, Cody and Randy Orton, like CM Punk and Roman Reigns, have been around for over, 10, 12 years, for some of them more than that. Randy Orton's talking about his 20th WrestleMania that he was involved in last year. So, you kind of have probably decided where you are on that, who you're going to be cheering for one way or the other. And so, are they going to get to pretty prominent ideas of who's a face and who's a heel in these championship matches? I'm very interested in seeing. And if they're not, you're just going to be kind of waiting for that moment to happen with Cody and Randy Orton one way or the other. Throw in Sami Zayn, Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre, and there's plenty of possibility for some changes in characters and changes in that WrestleMania match as we get to it. So a lot to talk about there. And then, of course, the talk of WWE this past week, of course, had to be Danhausen. The premiere of Danhausen it came out of the box at Elimination Chamber to some boos. People were not really into this character, Dracula-ish character that's built like me. I mean, he's not much bigger than I am, doesn't look like a wrestler. And, in his debut, came out, did a little bit of a dance type of thing, and got booed because people were hoping it would be Chris Jericho or somebody, or something that kind of moved the needle a little bit more. And then this past week, Danhausen, and I got a minute for me too, and I say this all the time, and there is a big difference between WWE fans and pro wrestling fans in general. If you're, and I have no problem, one, admitting that, or two, acknowledging it. And there's going to be people out there that are going to say, well, I've watched this cat before, this or that. You can kind of form your opinions. I like to come from it from, the WWE crowd, the majority of folks that haven't established too much of an opinion on it. Now, I've seen Danhausen clips and, some different things. I mean, if you're curious enough, you start to look online and see kind of what his character is about. And again, you do the same thing I do anyway, for some of the new wrestlers that come in, just to get a little bit of a base knowledge of it. But I've got to admit, from where I felt about him Sunday, after Elimination Chamber on Saturday, to where I do this week, and he hasn't even stepped in the ring. And I fear that might be part of the problem is when he does, but I feel pretty darn good about him. I thought it was very entertaining. This, even involved in a match where he's potentially already cursed two of my favorite wrestlers, and that could be bad things ahead for him. I could see why, WWE is excited for him, and his comedy character, as it very much is. But, this past week on both Raw and SmackDown, cursed Dominic Mysterio, cursed The Miz, and just funny dialogue, the voice. I think that they can get some run out of this, which was something I was questioning, last week, and especially the way he was perceived at Elimination Chamber. So I think it could be fun. So we'll see. I think there is more fun ahead for Danhausen. And in the same week, by the way, a lot of people comparing him to R-Truth and the comedy character that he can kind of carry, a lot of those comedic segments. R-Truth paired with Damian Priest in a tag team. So, not that his comedy character is going to go away, as he's still out there trying to emulate his favorite wrestler growing up in John Cena now, is that, they might actually have a little bit more in-ring action for him. And again, I don't know if that could be, a significant problem once Danhausen gets in the ring. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, in any case, a lot of fun as we get to the road to WrestleMania. What we do here on Nuclear Heat every week, usually start off like I just did with some of the overarching topics that are at the forefront of WWE and WWE fans' minds. We get those through our heads in the first segment, and then we kind of review WWE Raw and WWE SmackDown from the previous week. And like I said, it was a great week of wrestling, so we can go ahead and jump into that. Once again, I'm Jake Bockoven. This is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. And I thought WWE Raw, I already mentioned, I had a little bit of qualms with how it ended. Did not love the final line from CM Punk before we left there. Very kind of confusing stuff. But I got to admit, I don't know if they could have started any better on WWE Raw this past week. Of course, again, on Elimination Chamber, we had the return of Seth Rollins. Originally, the one of the Vision's primary members there, return, and of course, at Elimination Chamber, cost Logan Paul a chance at WrestleMania. So the Vision was mad. They come out, and there's, like we all know, I mean, they're a four-man group that is without their two kind of muscle men, if you will, in Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And so they do look a little bit toned down, but with them doing that, Paul Heyman decided, of course, who was one of the greatest of all time on the mic, decided to start going off on Seth Rollins and kind of stood in the ring like he's a wrestler himself, saying as long as the three of us are here, you're going to get the business basically. And of course, Paul Heyman says it in words that I can't always use on radio, but they get away with saying on TV. I just don't feel comfortable with it on radio. I don't know if DP would always like some of the words that Paul Heyman says. So again, there was a little bit of that, but in any case, they made it very clear we're going after Rollins. Adam Pearce comes out, says Rollins isn't medically cleared, so that's not going to be possible. And then kind of the chaos ensued. All this time we've seen, of course, it's the Triple H era, so there's several masked men involved in the feud. And we've seen over the last couple of weeks, the masked men aren't necessarily Seth Rollins at this point. So you had masked men showing up, and then you would have the Vision giving chase. And so it was just perfectly set up. Logan Paul chased the first masked man away. Austin Theory chased the next masked man away. And you could see it as Paul Heyman kind of figured out what was going on. Is starting to look around the ring and say, oh, okay, I'm alone, and I just talked a big game. And that's when you have Seth Rollins show up again and with his mask, take it off. And then he's ready with the chair to hit Heyman in the back. And of course, part of that is Seth Rollins. They made it look like the same thing he did to the Shield when they broke it up there. So great kind of long-term storytelling involved there as well. But Seth Rollins delivered the chair shot. And then Paul Heyman, as he was struggling to get up, was perfectly positioned for Rollins to give a curb stomp. And so didn't take long for Paul Heyman to get his comeuppance after talking trash to Seth Rollins. But I mean, so it was kind of chaotic, right? You had people running everywhere. Seth Rollins, return attacking Paul Heyman, and all of that was pretty crazy. But it didn't stop there. So in the back, and this, I think it was after commercial break, but it was in the back that Jimmy Uso was brutally attacking Austin Theory. And I mean brutally. I mean, this looked as good as Jimmy Uso, Big Jim, has looked in a backstage segment in quite some time. Meanwhile, the ambulance driver, they ride off the ambulance with Paul Heyman, of course, in the back after taking the chair shot and the curb stomp. The ambulance driver is LA Knight. And so he drives off. Of course, he's got his own problems with the Vision. So kind of leaves you kind of hanging there waiting for the story to continue to fall out from that. But it just felt like with that beginning, it was like, man, this is there's a lot of juice to this here on Monday Night Raw. Felt kind of like, a lot of the characters kind of intertwining. Again, I thought that it felt really very much like, some of the best times of the Attitude Era in that segment. And so it was a lot of fun. Seth Rollins, now you wonder with him, you didn't see a whole lot of him. Is he going to come back with a little bit more focus? Of course, his character in the Vision and, really since kind of the Messiah days has been a lot of laughing and, eccentric clothes and all that sort of stuff. And, it's worked. He's gotten it over. But I think at this point, when you look at getting the revenge on the Vision, certainly could still keep going with that. But I would like to see more of a focus Seth Rollins. I always say my favorite Seth Rollins was when he was with the Authority, like Triple H and Kane and those guys, J&J Security, all of that. Now they did write him off to be a little bit of a chicken bleep heel, if you will, here and there. But I always thought that was kind of his best character work. I would love to see something similar to that now, of course, a little bit more as a good guy, or at least a guy that people want to see get the Vision, right? So I mean, the crowd's widely over. We'll see what Seth Rollins. The question is where do we go from here, right? And that's why it's partially so entertaining. Is you could have, and we talked about this last week, Seth Rollins, Logan Paul. Maybe that's your matchup at WrestleMania, because you really have set it up, and they've continued it now to where they're continuing with the storyline that you want them to go after Braun Breaker or Bronson Reed. Kind of, again, remember the kind of the three guys that started the Vision. That would make more sense. That would get more heat. But again, the problem is both those guys are injured. So I think part of that's going to be timeline to see how that comes back. But it also with some of their booking that they did later, which is kind of pitting Austin Theory and Logan Paul against the Usos, you might think, well, maybe that's their tag team championship match at WrestleMania. And so they might have something. for Seth Rollins, specifically against one of those other Vision members. So we'll have to wait and see. Certainly, again, whatever becomes of Paul Heyman will be interesting with LA Knight now with him in the back of that ambulance. So we'll have to see what happens there. But again, I thought this was as good of an opening to Raw as we've had in quite some time. From there, we had the matchup between Gunther and Dragon Lee. And I thought they got this back on track too. I thought this was part of a good part of opening Raw as well. Is Dragon Lee's, been a thorn in Gunther's side, if you will, ever since he has retired AJ Styles. And I've been talking about it. I just, I'm not sure if that's the route to go. Dragon Lee's fine. They paired him with AJ Styles. They paired him with Rey Mysterio. They've been trying to get him over for, the last 2 years, but he's not at that low. Of course, Gunther has retired Goldberg, John Cena, and AJ Styles now. So Dragon Lee is not like those guys, right? So I've been thinking, I don't know. But it does make sense why he wants to get after Gunther, right? Because he was AJ Styles' last tag team partner. So in that part, it makes sense. But I really, I'm still interested to see what happens with Gunther at WrestleMania, by the way. But, just kind of looking for some movement, right, in this feud that, if you will call it, because of everything I just kind of lined out, is at least kind of it's a temporary feud, if you will. This is not a blood feud. This is not going to last to WrestleMania. There's just not enough star power on the challenger's behalf. And so I thought they did make a good step forward here in this match. Gunther ends up applying a sleeper and removing Dragon Lee's mask, of course, which is the ultimate shame for a luchador. And in that, again, we'll kind of put more heat on Gunther. To a degree. Again, I'm not sure if the crowd is completely behind Dragon Lee one way or the other, but understanding that that is not appropriate thing to do in the ultimate kind of spit in the face to a luchador. The question is, are there too many unmaskings in WWE? And this, I bring this up with Asuka's mist that she does as well. Is, I think it's very effective if you do it every once in a while, and unmasking is even more so, obviously, than mist. Now, the mist is very effective when it is done, and it can be a surprise. The unmasking, and they've got this deal here with AAA, and so they can bring in as many luchadors, I suppose, as they want to kind of feed through that system, so they could do it as much as they want. But they've just kind of done this angle with Axiom, and I think it's also just, again, to the star power you're trying to build. I mean, I'll remember forever when in WCW when it happened to Rey Mysterio. Like, a lot of people remember that. And then, of course, he went in the run of not wearing the mask anymore, and was with the Filthy Animals, one of my favorite groups, and was wearing the horns and all that sort of stuff. But in any case, it was a big, at that time, change. And then he came over to WWE, and they put the mask back on, got rid of the Rey Mysterio Jr. And so, when you kind of think of unmaskings, you think kind of the biggest ones that have happened, and these aren't going to quite fit in there. Right. So I do wonder if they're doing that a little bit too much, and you don't want to do it to all your kind of newer guys that you're trying to bring up the card as far as the luchadors. But again, for what it's worth, I mean, I think this is what they had to do, and had to do all along if they were going to follow up Gunther and all the heat he had for retiring AJ Styles with Dragon Lee. You've got to go the whole way, and they did that here. So that's how the show opened up. I thought it was fantastic. We will go over the rest of the show and SmackDown when we come back. Also have WWE 2K26 ratings for the video game dropping. I think those are always kind of interesting to see how the wrestlers are perceived from the makers of the video game, which I'm not sure how much say WWE has, and I'm sure there is some. So that is kind of interesting too. We'll do that by the show's end. We'll be back with more Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket.
Do you ever feel okay in your current job and profession, but wonder if there's a better company that can offer more? Vision Mechanical is now hiring for journeyman plumbers and HVAC service technicians. Vision Mechanical offers top-of-the-industry wages, 100% paid health, disability, and life insurance, 401k with employee match, and paid holidays and vacation. Vision Mechanical believes in craftsmanship, teamwork, and building a better future one project at a time. Apply today or learn more at visionmechanical.net or email Ron at vmech.net.
Mike, the insurance company wants us to replace the roof.
Wait, what?
I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, it says right here our roof is too old and they won't be able to cover us anymore.
I guess it is 15 years old. Hi, I'm Austin with Roofing Service Company. We help homeowners with their roofing and siding projects. Financing options are available, and we can get you under a new roof no time at all. If this sounds like you, visit roofingservicecompany.com. That is roofingservicecompany.com.
Tomorrow is about the lessons we learn today. A farmer's market teaches us that community is grown together. Kids laughing shows us how joy is easy. And coffee on the porch reminds us to savor every moment. These are the lessons that shape a tomorrow we all share. One filled with trust, good company, and wide open dreams. That's the way banking should be. And that's Pinnacle Bank. Member FDIC.
If you're a homeowner or a business owner, you have a lot of projects, and no one has an unlimited budget or time. Sunbelt Rentals makes all jobs less stressful with no need to purchase large equipment or hire a crew. You can do it yourself with rentals and everything from aerators and power rakes for spring yard work to stump grinders, concrete mixers, tile saws, and more. Check out their inventory in Lincoln, north of Cornhusker Highway on 56th Street, or online at sunbeltrentals.com.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
A business's phone is the lifeline to its customers and potential clients. That's why it's so important that you can take calls seamlessly from anywhere, whether you're on the road or in the office. Hamilton Business Technologies can help ensure your phone rings wherever you are. We can equip your headquarters and any of its locations with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we know how to keep Nebraska businesses connected. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
The wait is over. It's Truck Month at Anderson Ford, which means big selection and even bigger savings on Ford F-150s. Like lease a 2025 Ford F-150 for only $195 per month. The truck that's built to work hard and play hard. Another reason you'll experience better at Anderson Ford. Stock number 1008409. Previous service letter. $195 per month for 36 months, 7,500 miles per year, 8,500 with tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 3/31/26.
Hey Husker Nation, this is Todd Euler, two-time national champion, here to talk to you about Window World Lincoln. At Window World, we specialize in replacement windows, doors, siding, and roofing. Whether you're looking to enhance the beauty of your home or increase its energy efficiency, we've got you covered. And here's the best part. We offer the best for less. Our team is dedicated to providing top quality products and exceptional service at affordable prices. We want to earn your business and make your home improvement dreams a reality. So why wait? Contact Window World Lincoln today at 464-7313 or visit our website at windowworldlincoln.com. Window World Lincoln, where quality...
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Glad to be back with you here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bockoven, and we do this week in review show for the WWE every week here on Sunday night. So thanks for joining us. And if you got some wrestling friends, go ahead and tell them about us. And you can always chime in 402-464-5685 if you agree or disagree with what I'm saying. Of course, in wrestling, you know, it's perfectly okay. You can boo me. Or you can cheer for me. Either way will work. I could play the face of the heel, but I could turn mid-segment too. So just remember that. In any case, we were halfway through our Monday Night Raw review. We left off on the AJ Lee promo. AJ Lee came out, basically issued an open challenge for her new title that she won from Becky Lynch. Of course, this being the U.S. title, or the Intercontinental title, excuse me. She wants to be a fighting champion. And usually when you have that, you will have somebody's music hit and come out. But in this case, that was not going to be the way it ended. So a little bit of an awkward, I think, ending there, because I think the crowd was also anticipating it. Also, we'll see with AJ Lee moving forward. Been very promo heavy and less in-ring heavy, I suppose, in her return. Maybe that will change as we move forward, as she wants to be that fighting champion. And we saw throughout the night, the remainder of the night, Lyra Valkyria, Bayley were talking to each other backstage. Thought it would be a good idea. Maybe that would be their route to get into WrestleMania, to go ahead and try to challenge AJ Lee. They go and to the GM's office. Io Sky comes out. So there appears to be some folks interested in going after that Intercontinental title from AJ Lee, which is very interesting to me, because as we've been talking about it, AJ Lee and Becky Lynch very well could take this thing all the way to WrestleMania. We'll have to see. There wasn't a Becky Lynch appearance this past week, but we do know now that coming up tomorrow on Monday Night Raw will be Io Sky versus Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria versus Ivy Nile versus Asuka versus Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's Intercontinental title #1 contenders gauntlet match. So that will be very exciting. Of course, they just had a gauntlet match on SmackDown for the tag team. Now going to do it on the Intercontinental side for the women on Raw. And that will be a lot of fun. Really, I mean, not to downplay the winner of that, but it'll be obviously AJ Lee's first challenger. And usually you don't lose right out of the gate. Her and Becky Lynch just have so much history and in kind of heat to them right now, that I'd be surprised if you quickly go another route and any one of those gals ends up winning this. But it remains to be seen. That's why we watch the show, right? So we will have to see what happens next there. Should be exciting. Either way, I like all the talent involved. Should make for an interesting match. Also on Raw last week, El Grande Americano defeated Ryo. No need to get too much into that. Kind of the same programming that they've been having there. They need to move that along. Rusev called out Oba Femi. Femi came out, did get the better of Rusev. Kind of left. They didn't have a match or anything, but a little bit of a brouhaha, and Oba Femi got the better of it. Rusev kind of backs out. So we will also have that match tomorrow night. So we'll see that as well. Oba Femi, of course, has been squashing everybody that he's run into in WWE so far. Rusev supposed to be a little bit more of a challenger, so I expect it to be a bit more of a match, not just a squash match tomorrow, but we'll wait and see. However, one way or the other, I don't think it is Rusev Day. I apologize to Rusev fans. I don't think that will be the end of that. I mentioned a little bit earlier, Jimmy Uso had a match against Austin Theory that kind of just broke out to chaos pretty quickly. Logan Paul got involved, drawing a disqualification. Jey Uso then attacks, clears the ring with some crutches. Again, making you wonder, is it going to be the Usos versus the Vision now at WrestleMania? Certainly wasn't the original plan for the Vision, but might be where they end up. And, I don't know what the plan was with the Usos either, kind of reuniting them. A lot of people thought they would have big plans for them at WrestleMania. Maybe this is it. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Jey Uso just kind of dabbling a little bit into singles action after returning to the tag team with Jimmy. So I think that could continue as well. So I'm not sure if there's a clear plan for the Usos. I say all that just to say, unless there is one, and a big one for WrestleMania, Logan Paul and Austin Theory do kind of need something here. But obviously the other idea would be if they do get in that match that Seth Rollins costs them the victory. So a lot of kind of predictable routes to go there. And sometimes predictable is not bad. It can kind of help tie in a good story. But I will wait. I'll wait to be surprised because I think there's a lot of obvious possibilities to move with that story at this point. Then we had, and I mentioned it earlier, Danhausen in the back ran into the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day was just blowing him off as this, kind of weirdo. And so he cursed Dom right before Dom's Intercontinental match against Penta. I think this has got to be the third or fourth time Dom has faced Penta for the Intercontinental Championship. But this time was a little bit different because Danhausen, Hurst, Dom. And so that will be kind of fun to see how that story continues. Another reason why this is a little bit different, Judgment Day, not on the same page here. Toward the end of this match, Dom demanded JD McDonough give him the ring bell, which he had been using as the heel to get victories over the last several months. Finn Balor stops him and says, hey, he let him do this himself, was not able to get it done. He tried to apply the 619, get it on Penta, but Penta avoided it, then hit the Mix and Destroyer for the win and the belt, and Penta wins there. I thought, altogether, obviously very interesting programming involving a lot of different groups here. You have to wonder if it was the right choice, though, altogether in how it's done. And people are going to have their different opinions. I'm obviously a big Dirty Dom fan. If you listen, if you've listened before, you might be able to figure that out. And he had, we're going back to last WrestleMania. He's had a very long run with this Intercontinental title. Remember, he dropped it temporarily to John Cena to pick it back up on John Cena's retirement tour. One of his last matches, defeated one of the greatest of all time in John Cena to retain this Intercontinental title match, this Intercontinental title. So I thought if they're going to put that much into it, it's going to be a big match when Dom loses it. This, was not even the main event of Raw here. So I was a little bit surprised that they went about it that way. And then you kind of ask the next question, the other guy that's kind of involved, Danhausen, and you can make your jokes, go ahead. And I was making them too. It felt weird, even like the opening of Raw. They're like, this is what happened to Elimination. They're being all serious. I do like the fact that, by the way, they're bringing back like early 2000 rock songs when they're doing their montages. That's definitely makes you feel a little bit more pro wrestling when they do that. But even when they're doing that, then they as they're reviewing their previous premium live event, they kind of do Danhausen for 30 seconds, and it completely takes you out of it. Again, that entrance was not the best. He was kind of booed out of the arena, and it's just one of those moments, not just when he debuted, but also when they're like showing the review of it, where it's like, if you're trying to convince your group of friends to watch wrestling for the first time in a long time, or you're talking to an alien that's never seen it, there are certain times, and I talk about it, where you're embarrassed as a wrestling fan, and I think, to be like, this is what you watch, and it's like, yeah, you got to remember, it's not all for you, right? There's all different types of wrestling fans, and from varying ages, and people are entertained by different things. So I get all that. I'm just saying, it was a bit interesting watching them recap their previous Prima Live event and kind of stick that in the middle there. I say all that to say, why I say I was interested in this choice is because it feels like Penta winning his first championship was kind of second, if not third, secondary story in what was going on here, because, okay, now Danhausen has a little bit something to his character. He's cursed Dom Mysterio, right? And now the question is, and for the past week, and we'll see if it moves forward, the idea's been out there that Dom's going to go on this long losing streak now because he's cursed. That would be an interesting route to go. But again, I think people are interested in Danhausen from this. They're certainly interested in the Judgment Day and them imploding. As that seems to be more and more likely WrestleMania matches is maybe Finn Balor versus Dirty Dom, or, JD McDonough might be involved, all that sort of stuff. And then there's Penta. And it's funny because, you say beggars can't be choosers. I'm right there. Since Penta's debuted, I thought he was wildly over. A lot of fun. Zero Miedo. And I've wanted them to push him. But I just felt like when they did, and they finally gave him this belt, it didn't feel like he was the main story here. So, they're going to have to do something with that. And it's definitely an interesting choice here with that title, the Intercontinental title, heading into WrestleMania season, where, again, I thought Dom had handled that well over the past year. And so I thought that would be a big, once he got beaten, that'd be kind of a big moment you could do at WrestleMania, perhaps, in that Finn Balor match or something like that. But they decided to move it here. So we'll see what they happen. I have no doubt that they have plans for Judgment Day moving forward. And so that might be part of the reason they go ahead and do this and drop the belt for Dom. And it might even get Penta on the WrestleMania card. So we'll see. And then, as we all know in wrestling too, some title matches, some title reigns don't last too long. So, we've got a little bit over a month till WrestleMania. I would assume Penta goes into WrestleMania season. the Intercontinental Championship, but you never know. So we'll see there. And then we close out Raw here with Roman Reigns and CM Punk's promo. CM Punk reminding Reigns that he has no help, no Shield, no Bloodline, no Paul Heyman, any of that. And so this was kind of just both of them kind of taking shots at each other. They already had this promo the previous week, a similar promo, I should say, that got the wrestling community talking. I thought that was well received. This one, again, I thought was weird, very weird at the end when CM Punk told Roman Reigns he would bury him next to his father. Of course, Roman Reigns' father, Sika of the Wild Samoans, had passed away a little bit over 2 years ago, or maybe just under 2 years ago in that time frame. And so, it's not like it's a nuance to wrestling. They do this all the time where you kind of bring up a family member that's passed away. I just didn't like it because, I think it's cheap heat. It's kind of low hanging fruit, easy to go to. And if you do it, so be it. I won't like it. But if you do it and underline it in exclamation point and close out the show with it, it's like, man, that's really kind of rough. Again, I get it. I think overall, you're trying to tell the story that CM Punk is trying to get into Roman Reigns' head. I also understand Roman Reigns okayed this more likely than not. This was not a line that shocked him or anything. So, the family and all that was probably okayed this. My problem is not that. It's that they had to go to him and ask him to okay this, right? That awkward moment where you have to go in and is it worth it, right? Is this feud any better off because of it? Again, I've talked about it. It kind of puts Punk not in a heelish kind of category, but certainly more toward the middle, right? And he's been on this big babyface run. And so you can kind of pick your sides there. The wrestling community as a whole, I don't think it was overall as bothered by it as I was. I just feel like that just doesn't need to happen. Of course, they do it every other feud that Cody has. So again, it's nothing new to wrestling, but generally it is not how you kind of leave off the show. And that's what they did here. But we'll see. Nevertheless, one way or the other, I didn't like it. It's not for me, but I'm still very excited for Roman Reigns and CM Punk at WrestleMania. Who wouldn't be? All right, let's go ahead and close out our Raw review. We'll talk about SmackDown when we come back here on 93.7 The Ticket.
If you're tired of the dieting circuit paradox but still want to look, feel, and perform better, you need to get to Nutrition Authority and ask about our nutrition coaching featuring LifeBase. LifeBase takes a complex world of nutrition and makes it simple with real results that last. Stop in to learn more or check us out on mynutritionauthority.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Tomorrow is about the lessons we learn today. A farmer's market teaches us that community is grown together. Kids laughing shows us how joy is easy. And coffee on the porch reminds us to savor every moment. These are the lessons that shape a tomorrow we all share. One filled with trust, good company, and wide open dreams. That's the way banking should be. And that's Pinnacle Bank. Member FDIC.
It's true. Many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than preparing for retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, I agree. And I'd like to help. I'm your Edward Jones financial advisor, Ryan Buck. Together, we can give you a long-term strategy, the attention it deserves. Contact me today at 402-483-0377. Again, that's 402-483-0377. Stop by our office at 8380 Old Cheney Road. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had roofing service company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Where there's smoke, there's flavor, and there's plenty of it at the Smokehouse at Super Savor and Russ's Market. Award-winning old world recipes made in Lincoln since 1984 with many flavors of smoked sausage and brats to choose from. The Smokehouse has something special for every season: brats and sausages for the grill, beef sticks and beef jerky for snacking, and smoked salmon, smoked turkey, or smoked hams for your holiday feast. Stop by the Smokehouse at Super Savor and Russ's Market today to fulfill your search for real flavor. Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on Nuclear Heat to talk some Friday Night SmackDown. Of course, all week, I'd mentioned early in the show, everybody was looking forward to the Cody versus Drew McIntyre match, and that was no different when we turned it on SmackDown Friday night. So that was going to be the main event everybody was looking forward to, but of course, as we know, SmackDown 3 hours long now, so they had to build up toward that and had some good television on, I think, this week leading up to it. Randy Orton opened up the show mentioning he's only main evented 2 of the 20 WrestleManias he's been in, and now is going to get the opportunity to do it for a third time. Of course, it's 2 nights now, so there are 2 potential main events. I always think it's kind of interesting, though, too, because that term gets thrown out a lot around here. I think the main events for each night at this point would be CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton each respective night. But you never know. You know, Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi, if that's the route they decide to go, could certainly be interesting. I don't think that's main event worthy, right? But certainly would be an interesting one. Cargill versus Ripley. I mean, we'll get to that here in a second. I mean, so I think it's probably the 2 biggest championships on the men's card that are going to be there. So Randy Orton very well will likely get his 3rd main event of WrestleMania here. In any case, Tripp Williams interrupts Randy Orton, starts talking some trash, and of course he gets RKO'd. He's new to the SmackDown roster. He's going to have to learn what happens when you start talking trash to Randy Orton. But of course, all joking aside, Tripp Williams does a great job. Everybody's so into him. I can't wait to see what his career turns into. But you know, the crowd's already chanting his name. You know, are already chanting, you know, whoop that trick when he comes out. And they even do it to Randy Orton. I always wonder, you know, when you hear them do that, and he's a heel, by the way, to some of the characters, you just wonder, are they gonna? Is the crowd gonna chant that along against their favorite wrestlers? And here they did, but of course they were happy to see Randy Orton get Trick Williams and surprise him there. Also on the episode, Carmelo Hayes defeated Iho Del Dr. Wagner Jr. from AAA in the U.S. Open Challenge. Always good to get some kind of new blood there. I've been seeing ideas of maybe some more time if they'd like the work of Dr. Wagner Jr. there, if he will be back. Certainly impressed here, as Carmelo Hayes usually does. And what they've been doing with that U.S. Open Challenge is to put on some impressive in-ring matches. They did here once again. Nia Jax and Lash Legends, of course, the new tag team champions, also now known as the Irresistible Forces. Of course, Nia Jax was the Irresistible Force. Lash Legend joining her side, now the Irresistible Forces. So I thought that was kind of interesting. You just kind of go off the nickname of one of them to bring up the 2. But in any case, very interested to see what they do with this division. Now, this was a paint by the numbers segment, almost to the detriment. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss came out. They wanted to be the next challengers. Julian and Kiana James came out. They wanted to be the next challengers. Nick Aldis comes out and books it. But it was just like the script was like something that I think I've heard in several segments over the years for challengers after a champion wins. So, and sometimes you do that. I get it. But this one felt like they were kind of milking it in a little bit. But in any case, it got us to where we needed to be to see who would challenge the irresistible forces next. Charlotte Flair pinned Julia with natural selection after a long win. So Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss should get their next title opportunity. Interesting that Julia gets pinned, by the way, out of that group. Kiana James, of course, most recently in Elimination Chamber. Julia, though, is still a champion, if you can remember, the U.S. champion right now. For some reason, they don't even acknowledge it. I have no clue why they made that move. Continue to say that will be one of the things that befuddled me more than anything. And we'll see if they get any sort of momentum at all behind that belt heading into WrestleMania. Then we had a Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes backstage argument, if you will. Again, ends up in Sami Zayn just saying good luck right to Cody. Sami Zayn, of course, upset. He has not won the big belt. Cody seems to get the big belt every other month, right? And he's explaining it like, I'm frustrated. You get another opportunity at the title. And, of course, Cody ends up winning it by the end of the night. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Sami Zayn, very frustrated. Certainly could see a heel turn coming there. Is there going to be, but what do you do with it, right? If you got Cody and Randy Orton locked up for WrestleMania, what are they going to do with that? Is it going to tie into Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre? Who knows here? But again, that's a good place if you are WWE. Have your fans saying who knows, because then they're going to want to tune in and see it. And that's where I think they are with Sami Zayn. And I've talked about it. His character can get stale, kind of the happy good guy. Not a hero of the underdog, right? But doesn't quite win. Interested to see what they do here, because at least they've kind of positioned him to be an interesting character, if nothing else. We did have tag team turmoil for the MFT's belts. Interesting. No Street Profits involved in the tag team turmoil, so they've kind of fallen off quite a bit. Also, of course, no DIY. We know, part of that's because Tommaso Ciampa is out of the company with AEW. But I just wanted to point out, those are two of the kind of the premier tag teams over the last couple of years for SmackDown. And so I'll just say it, the tag team turmoil teams that were in action, a little bit underwhelming, including even like Motor City Machine Guns, just because we hadn't seen them so much recently. But this started off with Nathan Frazier and Axioms, therefore Fraxium, defeating Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, and looked like a botched foot on the rope type of move there at the end. I don't know what they were necessarily going for there. We saw Sabin and Shelley arguing about it backstage later, so maybe you could see some dissension in Motor City Machine Guns. We'll have to wait and see. Angel and Berto come out. They defeat Fraxium. And then they also defeat Joey Gacy and Dexter Lumis, thanks to Tongaloa and Tama Tonga getting involved, which is interesting because obviously the MFTs just took the belts off of Gacy and Dexter Lumis. So, is that continuing? Looks like there's still going to be bad blood there. But now we know the next challengers for the tag titles of the MFTs will be Damian Priest and R-Truth, who are teamed up earlier in the night. And I love it, by the way. R-Truth is a guy, his comedy act is what it is. He gets on backstage segments all the time, but, especially for his age, can go in the ring really well. And, compare him with Damian Priest, a guy that I think's been lost. I don't know what you would do with the next singles feud here. Very lost for WrestleMania season. This kind of bleeds new life into them. And that pairing should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see what they do with it. So that is a new group that I'm excited about. And again, I never necessarily want to look down on any competitor or feel, they don't have the most momentum behind them, but especially for Priest, I felt like he needed something. R-Truth could be that something for them moving forward. Got a couple minutes left in the show here. It's going to have to go a little bit quick. Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley did a face-to-face. They shook hands, both agreeing that they are the B word, right? That B word specifically by the end of the promo. I thought that was good. Of course, they had a series of social media exchanges that might lead you to believe that there is more heat behind that feud than just the characters. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, some of that could be a work as well. Obafemi then went out and squashed, revitalized Johnny Gargano. Johnny Wrestling. He's all excited. I mean, Candice LeRae was able to get him back. Of course, he's just been kind of laying around the last couple of weeks after Tommaso Ciampa departed. And so it was kind of exciting for half a second, like, oh, is Johnny Wrestling back? Well, then Obafemi comes out. He challenged the entire locker room. Not a good idea. Obafemi comes out and squashes him. So that continues to be the case for anybody that goes up against Obafemi. That is a theme. Is there a theme behind a Danhausen curse? Of course, like I said, he already cursed Dom, now attempting to curse Miz, or is there a pairing coming up? Kind of left at where we don't necessarily know. A Miz Danhausen pairing could be comedic gold, so we'll have to wait and see on that as well. But he would work well either way with a curse. So again, we talk about it. The Miz often the guy that helps kind of bring in some new talent because he's so good at working with anybody, any type of wrestler. And I think this will continue to be the case. So I was glad to see Danhausen paired with Miz, whether they'll be a team or foes. Of course, if they are a team, they'll be foes eventually. Remains to be seen. And that's where we wrap it up with Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes. Drew McIntyre left the ring. Cody had to go get him after two collapsed tables, one from the crossroads and a counter, one from a powerbomb. In fact, one of those even being the announcer's table. McIntyre then moved the referee, Baby Nate's Charles Robinson, into the action in front of a crossroads, so he was taken out of action. Then ref Dan Angler came out, and of course McIntyre has a history with Dan Angler. He comes out to the ring. McIntyre eventually headbutts him, and then he goes to get the chair with the referee's not looking. He was going to go get some damage done, but Jacob Fatu grabs this chair, steals it from McIntyre. Cody ends up winning this thing with a Cody cutter and a crossroads and retains his title and sets him up for that WrestleMania match against Randy Orton. Like I've said, that's a money match, a good idea moving forward there. What happens with McIntyre next? Of course, I suppose Jacob Fatu would make the most sense. And I thought they did a good job kind of bringing the referees involved here, because the one kind of hole in this whole story is, of course, that SmackDown's GM Nick Aldis is upset that Drew McIntyre keeps interrupting in matches. I don't know if he's watched professional wrestling over the last 20 years or however long it's been, right? I mean, that's kind of a mainstay, but they can kind of focus in now on Drew particularly attacking the refs, and that being why this whole match happened to begin with, and why Drew McIntyre's kind of been punished from Nick Aldis there. So I think that's probably the best way to go about it. That will wrap it up for our show today. Mentioned really quickly, the 2K26 ratings, wanted to pay that off real quick. The WrestleMania card looks like this. CM Punk ranked at 94 by the new game. Roman Reigns a 95 in that match. Stephanie Vaquer against Liv Morgan. Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan both ranked in 92 in that game. As far as Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley, the top woman on the game at 96. Jade Cargill at 88. And as far as Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton go, Cody Rhodes currently ranked a 95, Randy Orton a 92. So a lot of high-profile names. Some of the top-ranked wrestlers in the game will be some of the top wrestlers at WrestleMania battling for the big belts, as you would imagine. But that'll wrap it up for Nuclear Heat. Thanks for joining us. We'll send out the national programming early break coming up next year on 93 Seconds. Take tickets early in the morning at 6 a.m. for our local program.